Wait a minute. They ghosted you after you started manifesting them? So you were doing all the right manifestation techniques and then they ghosted you. Let's talk about why that is and how you can overcome and finally manifest your specific person. So maybe you're feeling confused or frustrated because you were doing all the manifestation techniques. You thought you were doing everything right, and suddenly they ghosted you, or they disappeared from your life. So instead of coming closer to you, they pulled away from you. Well, there is such thing as energetic attachment and how that can repel people from your life, and how detachment really is the way to draw toward you. So magnetism, is where you draw things to you. And sometimes you can flood the energy space and with a sense of desperation if you are trying really hard to get them. And it's honestly, it's one of the laws of the universe where, the harder you chase after something, the further it gets away from you. And it's only when you're able to detach from the situation and detach emotionally where all of a sudden that thing that you wanted is chasing you. And I know there's this fear that, oh, but if I detach, maybe they're not going to understand how much I want them. You've already, sent, as Abraham Hicks says, you've already shot the rocket of desire, that you want this specific person. So the universe understands that. And it's not going to ruin your manifestation if you emotionally detach. In fact, it will draw them to you much better than chasing energy. It's the moment you say, oh, that's not going to happen, all of a sudden it happens, right? That is what is at work here in this situation. So how you know that you're doing too much, it's like that, that's saying do less. How you knowing that you're doing too much is if you're maybe over visualizing. Maybe you just haven't gotten to the point where you've dropped it. And I know there's some practices or some gurus who say, oh, just keep, visualizing. Or maybe you're just confused as to how long you should keep visualizing and working the techniques. But at some point, I like to think, if you think to yourself, if you're asking yourself, when should I drop it? Then you've probably gone way too far. You want to get to the point where you believe it, right? Where you feel that it's done. And if you have visualized with specificity, you being together and being in a better version of yourself, or not just a better version, but a version of yourselves, meaning if you have visualized your specific person as well as yourself in a relationship where you both mutually have this love for each other and this desire for each other, then, and you have felt that, you felt that desire from them and within yourself, then you can just drop it. You're ready to drop it. If you're doing more, you keep doing it over and over again, you're signaling to the universe that you don't believe that it's true. Because if you keep having to have these visualizations and constant affirmations, it's like telling the universe, you could be signaling to the universe that you don't have it and it's not real. So at some point you just have to drop it. You have to just drop it and do whatever you can to distract yourself. I would say do something, and Abraham Hicks talks about, switching your attention to something that makes you feel good. So, if it's a hobby in your life, something that you do, or maybe just hanging out with friends and focus on having a good time with your friends, getting yourself out there to distract yourself from that, then do that. Do whatever you have to detach from that situation. Also, I can definitely give you an example of when it was hard for me to detach, and I ended up manifesting, well, this isn't with specific person, but this is with like a job that I had wanted years ago when I was still in LA. And I was so desperate to get this job because money was dwindling down and I really wanted to stay in LA. And so I was visualizing, I was doing all the things, manifesting, I was affirming, but it was chasing energy. And what ended up happening was the job ended up being total crap. And everything fell apart because I was still manifesting from a position of lack, from someone who didn't have the right job, who was uncertain in things and what I wanted to do and what I could do. And it ended up just falling apart because I manifested a job that reflected my energy, which was unstable and something that just wasn't, it just wasn't meant for me. Because I was confused as to what was meant for me at that time. I didn't know. And so it all fell apart. But I will tell you, there was a time when, with specific person, I guess you could say, where I remember I liked this guy and we were hanging out. He was already in a relationship. And we were friends. And so, of course, I didn't want to cross any boundaries there. But I did energetically. I mean, I liked him and he liked me, but it wasn't the right time and it just wasn't meant to be. And then, of course, as soon as I stopped that energy of, because I was really enjoying the attention and we had a lot of fun together. But as soon as I, really, truly just stopped that energy, all of a sudden he started chasing me. And I can't remember if he had broken up with his girlfriend at the time. He might have already because he was very faithful and loyal. And I would never do anything to jeopardize that. But there came a point as soon as I basically detached from that energy, because we did have a discussion and it was just like, this isn't going to go anywhere. Like, what are we doing? We're really just friends. And once that happened, and I think he probably started to feel that detachment, all of a sudden he started chasing me. And, it could have been after he broke up with his girlfriend, that's probably when it happened. But by that point, I was just like, not for me. Been there, done that. It just wasn't the same, but it was funny how, I guess I could have had that, but by that time for me, it was done. And the energy it just wasn't there anymore. It wasn't the same. So detach, trust me on this. If you can detach and find other interest and move on sort of with your life, then they will come chasing you. They will come after you. And just remember, when you have a situation like this and he or she has rejected you, or you feel like they've rejected you, it's not necessarily a rejection. It's just you're being shown a different direction to go in. Sometimes it is just that simple. And you can still manifest, a specific person or maybe a general person, right? That fits the person who you are now. It's all about you and what you visualize for yourself. And you can desire a wonderful relationship with anyone. So comment down below and let me know, what are your personal stories with detachment and how has that worked for you? And I'll see you in the next video.